Good morning. Saturday morning has rolled around again. You're tuned back in, and we do appreciate that. Back to our regular program, even though lately it's been a lot of different material that we don't normally do on the channel, and we have definitely worked on that. And I'll go ahead and actually we'll elaborate a little bit on that again this week for this show. And we have some snakes and serpents that have slithered its way onto the show, so we couldn't help but bring them out and talk about those again, and a movie for you and all that. So anyway, we're gonna get to your comments here first, and back to our normal, what we normally do here on the channel. So it has been a little bit different for sure this last month or so. With a lot of things, because I've been one of those people that have been so excited about the breaking news when Colt had done that. So, all right, let's go ahead and read the comments here. We've got one here from Brett at 9mm USA. Excellent channel, by the way. Those guys are awesome. They're my buddies over there. And we actually wore the Wilson Combat t-shirt for them because we know they're also big fans of Wilson Combat 1911s. And you know what? Anytime I want to see a nice, great video of a quality 1911 such as the Wilson Combat, I always tune into Beretta 9mm USA. And I always love the way they photograph those things, and you get to really show the details. I think it's as close as you're going to get without actually handling it yourself to seeing what the quality that you're getting. He says, I happen to be awake at 2 a.m. here in the West Coast, and it's fantastic to be number one. Big thumbs up from us. Keep up the great work, sir. And that's from Beretta Sr. And also say hello to my fellow left-handed shooter there, Beretta Jr. All right, Mike says, hello JW, something else to consider if Colt starts making a blued 4-inch python with 2 ribs instead of the 3 rib pythons will instantly become collector's items. It's common that collectors like the more rare items, the stuff nobody wanted to buy in the first place. Either way, Colt is giving us revolver geeks a fun ride. Absolutely. You couldn't. That is such a true statement in this comment right here. What a great comment that is. I'm still resisting buying an Anaconda. Best wishes from Montana. Man, every time you bring up that Anaconda, I feel like I'm gonna need to get one. Honestly, the Anaconda has been on my radar. I have thought about it, and more so now with Deer Hollow Grips offering the grips that he does. For you could switch, put them on your the Python. I love the fact that you can take those Python grips and put them on that Anaconda, and that's a thing to remember, people. As we always like to share things on the Collectors Radio, we share things with everybody. To my knowledge, from what I understand, this is the way it goes. Old Python and new Python grips are interchangeable, as well as the new Anaconda. The old Anaconda, it is not. You cannot put Python grips on the old Anaconda. However, you can put Python grips on the new Anaconda. So that's the way it works. And my opinion is, why would you want the old Anaconda anyway? It was actually a piece of junk. Sorry, I had to say it. I was never impressed. I saw him in the time when I was first breaking into the business. Some odd 15 years ago or whatnot. I was never impressed. However, when I fondled one of the Anacondas in the shop, and I'm not great, Mike's probably sitting there going, he's not helping matters right now. When I fondled one of the Anacondas in a shop, I just couldn't believe the action, and I was like blown away. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, this is the best made one yet. I know it's that's, but yeah, you know what? I tell you, it's gonna be a real kicker when they start offering these things in blue. Okay, Jeffrey Richardson, sip of coffee. The snakes are beautiful. Yes, we have some more snakes out this time, Jeffrey. Joe P, swig of coffee for Joe. All right. Good morning, JW. With all the Burt Reynolds talk on the radio show lately, I binge watched 5 of his movies over the holiday. Oh, that is the holiday. That's the way to do it. All right. He watched The N, Hooper, Seamus, Malone, and Meet Wally Sparks. Don't think I've seen that one. Meet Wally Sparks. I don't think I've seen that one. I've seen the other ones. Hooper is got a special place for me. Hooper is one of my favorites. I've probably watched that the most out of all of his films. All right, pretty nice weekend. Yes, absolutely, that is a nice weekend. Hooper's also got who else is in that? The guy from Mechanic, Jan Michael Vincent, plays a good part in it. All right, could almost say the Tom Cruise of the 70s. Gun enthusiasts, my brother over there. Yes, brother, in the beginning, I really didn't want to make videos, but you uploaded your first video and you were hooked. Yes. Right. You absolutely do. By the way, I did check out a lot of your shorts there, and pretty funny stuff. Pretty good stuff, man. I tell you, man, Gun enthusiasts and I go way back to the beginning. So I do appreciate the fact he's still around and still commenting, still watching, and I still check this stuff out and everything. I still go back and watch some of your old videos, man. They're great stuff. Then for me, it got to the point where I really wanted to make quality videos and be very professional. Then I got demonetized, and you get discouraged. Man, yeah, that sucks. It does. A lot of the stuff, the craziness it does, it really kills and discourages a lot of channels. And it's not about the grabbing of the money. The money helps because it helps you stay motivated a little bit and helps fund a little bit of the productions and stuff. And people that maybe don't make videos don't understand that the money there is every little bit, time, your money, things you spend on it, you do end up going out there and spending a lot of money. You'd be like, hey, that would be good stuff, something good for the content, or something that I need for helping making content. Lighting, cameras, tripods, microphones, all that stuff. So yeah, that really does. There's a lot of channels and not just firearms stuff out there that has hit that point. There was a lot of really cool channels that I really enjoyed watching, but because of the demonetization, it really killed their content. One of them, honestly, as weird and goofy and maybe rude as it is, Reckless Eating was one of my favorite channels to watch back in the day, because of they would get a bunch of people together. If you don't know who this channel is, they get a bunch of their friends together, and it's usually the same kind of people, the same couple of cast members, but then they'd have other extras in there. And they would go out and they would buy like the most horrible tasting food that your average person probably wouldn't eat. And they would, and they would just like get all these people together and try this stuff, to hot spicy stuff or whatever, or just anything, and the reactions from them. And sometimes it would just be outright gross. I will admit that. Sometimes it was a little bit gross, but it was a funny channel. It really is. Also things like when you have, like I used to be a really big fan of the Angry Grandpa. I really liked the Angry Grandpa. Charles Green was, man, I tell you, that guy was, even though, yes, in the early days it was sad because, it was legitimately him being upset or in despair. But they ended up making something out of it, and YouTube gave them, a world that they didn't know it could be existing in their lives. They, literally from rags to riches. And, what a great thing, but, just to watch them now have to, watch us. His son is still going on. Angry Grandpa had passed away But his son still carries on with his, his blogging and channels. I used to watch him quite a bit back in, but having to censor out the curse words and all that. But that was part of their shtick. That was their deal. That's what they did. So I think that's where I'm against the censorship. People having to change up what put them on the map, differently. That would be like suddenly Colt is no longer allowed to make 1911s or something like that. I don't know. So that kind of sucks. I hate hearing things like that. And again, it's not about the money, but that money to some people, like certainly not me. I don't make a living off of this by any means. But to some people, that's what they did, and I'm all for that because it created a place for people to take their ideas and put them out there. And there's a lot of talented people, certainly not me, but there's a lot of talented people out there that were able to do this and make videos and entertain us, make us laugh, make us feel, do all the magic that movies do. But I think it's become things like what we're doing here on the YouTube has become more popular now than it ever has, because it's real people like you and I being able to do things and project their ideas and be like, and it's funny and it's relatable. So that's what I think is really cool. But again, it being hindered by something like that, or the fear of being taken down or canceled or whatnot, and it can happen. I mean, the bigger, whatever, it happens to anybody. And it's not just us doing firearms or whatnot, even though, yes, we are in a kind of a hot spot. But it does happen to quite a lot of other channels as well. And that's what I mean about it. I hate to see that a lot of these people get their ideas stomped on or killed or it restricts them to be creative. And anybody that can be creative, get out there and throw out, ideas and talent and showcase it, should be empowered. It should give people that motivation to do it. And if throwing somebody a few dollars is motivation, then why are we cutting that off? So back to your comment, gun enthusiast here. I also changed jobs, didn't have time like I used to. Life happens. Now I'm just having fun with YouTube Shorts in a simple way. It's simple and easy. Have a great weekend, bro. Well, I'm still glad that you're doing something on YouTube and you're still there. You're one of my favorite guys. So many of us became friends without actually meeting each other face to face, but yet becoming friends over this. And I met so many people, and honestly, to me, that was the biggest reward and payoff of doing YouTube. I've met a lot of really cool people, and I've got to become friends with people that may have not have met you, but we have been kind of together through this, like Gun Enthusiast, the channel TAB videos, which was Trees of Blowing, the Real Cobra Burnout. The Real Cobra Burnout, I was actually just thinking about him the other day, and I forget. I don't get on YouTube as much and watch so much content anymore. I do watch a lot of movies. I'll be admit to that, but Cobra Burnout had done a string of videos of these Bud K, I guess once a month they did like a bundle bag or something like that. And I tell you, his unboxing or unbagging, whatever you want to call them, videos of that was just classic. Real Cobra Burnout's videos on that was just you couldn't fake that stuff if you tried. His reactions, his commentary, watching him open all that stuff. Classic stuff, man. I tell you, there's a lot of great channels out there that and it's crazy how they don't have the followers that they ought to have. That they're great channels. So I mean, there are so many of them out there. I usually, it's hard to list them because there's so many, and I always forget about everybody. So, all right, Sean Lee, this one's a good holiday weekend to y'all, to you. And it's cool. It's cool seeing grips with some character like those weird wood grips. Kind of reminds me of Tiger Strike grips that are out there, although those may be a little cooler. We do appreciate that. I purchased them, like I said, because they were weird. They were definitely a one-off. And they're lighter color. Honestly, now that I got those, I do actually like the darker colors a little bit better. And to kind of elaborate on this a little bit, I mean, I will, I will talk about and definitely rave about a company or a product that I feel is good. And I don't have a problem with that, just doing that. And that's why I've been talking about Deer Hollow grips, because I think, to me, what that guy's doing is magical. He is that missing link that when Colt redid these pythons and stuff, he, whichever way you look at it. I'm a collector / shooter. I like the old stuff, nostalgia. As far as my finances can afford it, which is not very much, he put that missing element to that. Everybody would have said, definitely when those pythons are out, the grips weren't the same. Are they good? Am I knocking the grips that they came with? No, they're good enough. If that's what we had to deal with, that's what we had to deal with. I'm glad. I'm glad that those are out there and they didn't choose to cheap out and just put some, tactical, whatever, latest, greatest fiber, nuclear bonded, something, like that. I'm glad that they went with wood grips of some sort, even though they're laminate or whatnot. They did put the effort into making those, getting those made. I'm glad, but yes, they're not exactly like that. So when I discovered Deer Hollow, and what's funny is I knew of the guy way far back before those were out. I was looking for Diamondback grips, and I came across him. And I just remember seeing them and going, wow, I had to do a double take, because I said, are those reproductions or are those legit? I actually, when I first saw them, I thought somebody had just a stockpile of originals. But, didn't really read too much into it. So I did know of him, but when somebody had recommended him again, when I was doing the first out with the new Python and everything and talking about it, somebody had recommended it. Or recommended him, and I did check it out, and I said, oh, I remember this guy. Okay, so I started looking through it again, and I said, wow, okay, I didn't know that he was actually making that. So, so I, of course, so the fact that he's doing what he's doing, which is reproducing a grip to the exact T as the old ones, that's right there. That is something that's something to think about. Also think about this. What if he quits doing them? I'm just saying. I don't want to put bad, energy out there. I'm not that by no means, but it's just that thing is, this is something that is a one-man show doing this, and he's bringing everybody. There's something about that to think about. So that's why I didn't mind getting a couple sets from him, because now at least I got some, and they're out there. And I talked about this too. Like you question, well, I could just go buy real ones for that money or for that price, but I always felt this. You know what? If you read his, he wrote a write up on the grips and everything, and I've myself handled the old legit ones, or the older vintage ones. I shouldn't, be careful the way you say these things, but I checked them out, in the past and before, and they were not the greatest grips. They looked really cool, but they, like even he breaks it down and explain it, they weren't the greatest made. They were somewhat soft wood and everything. And I tell you too, like I got some original sets. Like this is a Diamondback that I've got with the service grips on it, and these are, obviously these are the originals. I actually want to get a pair of his as soon as they come back in stock and replace these with his, because it'll look better. The gun's in really decent shape, but the grips are a little bit worse for wear, or they're definitely worn. They're not terrible, but they're worn, and I'd rather replace them with his and get the gun looking better, because that to me always is going to stand out. And that's one thing about, if you were to put old grips on something beautiful like the new Python, it's always going to look like you have this gorgeous gun with a used old beat up set of grips on it, unless you found somebody that just had a stockpile of these time capsule grips from the 70s and 60s or something like that just, held them under lock and key. I don't know, which is unlikely, and it would probably cost you a small fortune. All right, so anyway, again, I don't mind recommending Deer Hollow grips or raving about his product, because I do think it's worth raving about. I do think they're worth the money. So they're not cheap, but then again, like the old saying goes, his grips, that's not a Timex, it's a Rolex. All right, Frank, movie shots of Smith & Wesson Model 66. You're doing a good job. Love show. Movie shots of a Model 66. The only movie I can think that comes to my mind right away that has a Model 66 in it, that's a really cool movie, is The Gauntlet. Directed by Clint Eastwood, and it's actually starring Clint Eastwood with his then partner Sandra Locke. Really cool movie. It is different, although kind of asinine, because if you've seen the movie, I don't want to ruin it for anybody that hasn't, but in the end, when they have the bus and they reinforced it with metal, that whole thing, I mean, nobody's going to stand on opposite ends of the of a road and shoot at each other with something in the middle. That goes back to know your target and what's beyond it. But it's a movie. It was made for entertainment, so you got to kind of take it for that. But it's still a cool movie. I own it. It's one of my favorites. It'll always be, that. But that's one movie that I can think of with a Model 66 that first comes to my mind, that you can clearly see the gun quite a bit in it. So that's the other thing too. It's always, whenever I get interested in like a movie gun or something, I always want to see it more in the movie. Like, that's why I think Magnum Force is the best Dirty Harry movie. Magnum Force is the best, because by then they knew the Model 29 was just as much of a star as Clint Eastwood is. So they wrote it in there, and I tell you, that's the one thing. You see it more. You see him shooting it. You see him reloading it. You see speed loaders, and also a double dip. You get the Python going in there. So anybody that sits there and gets done watching that movie, and if you're a revolver holic like me, you end up going, man, I got to get a Python and a Model 29. It's a big reason why I have this like interest to get a 4-inch Python. And now that the blue ones are out, it's definitely it's in the inventory up here, and it's that's like like Mike was saying, that yes, it's calling me, and I'm putting earplugs in, but not anytime soon. I'm gonna wait a little bit. I'm actually kind of seeing what's gonna happen. I'm curious. Like I said, I mentioned it again. I'll bring it up. I mean, I wonder if Colt has seen that hey, our sales aren't as rapid for the 4-inch, because people are not wanting to get them, because it's like, hey, look, we deviated from that, and it looks, is it a full-blown deal breaker for me? No. I probably end up, if that was the way it is, I'd probably end up still getting one, but I'm not exactly, I'm kind of like, I wish they wouldn't have done that. But speaking of one of those movies that doesn't, and well, you know what, before I ended on the Magnum Force thing, you know what, one thing that I really wished was different in the ending of Magnum Force, which would have made the Magnum Force movie the ultimate, which was if Harry Callahan would have had his Model 29 and they would have battled it out in that warehouse or that dock or wherever they were in the end of that, that would have been the ultimate. But no, he loses it. He has to throw his speed loaders or his ammunition out the window, thanks to Hal Holbrook, and dump his Model 29 and throw it in the back seat, which gets blown up. I wish they should have wrote it where he, I don't know, that ending should have been, that whole thing should have been reworked. I think that was kind of really, you the whole time I feel like you're waiting for them to go head to head, the Magnums. I don't know, maybe I'm just being too, but yeah, that all in all, that's my favorite. That's the best one, I think, is Magnum Force. All right. Jeffrey Richardson saying it's not just you. Okay. That's it for our comments. And we're going to go ahead and talk about some other stuff. Also, yes, Deer Hollow is out of stock right now. But I did mention it, and I'll mention it again. If you do want a set of his grips, or depending on which set you want, get on that thing that he says, notify me when back in stock. Because he uses that to know what to make. One of those things, too, that I wanted to talk about, which is the movie Bullet. Speaking of the guns not being in, how would you say, like not in the movie enough, Bullet. This is the Bullet's the reason why I bought a, what do you call it, like a Colt Diamondback Snubby. Bullet's the reason why. And you don't see it enough. You only see it like in the end. Really, you only really see it in the end. But because of that movie, I had to have a Colt Diamondback Snubby. Thanks a lot, Bullet. No. Anyway, but that's the only reason I had to have it. And these are definitely not cheap. Actually, I kind of got lucky with this. I purchased it from a guy that had it listed, and it was listed on it. He had a bunch of other things, but nobody was bidding on it. The other ones that I was watching or bidding on, they went up. Like, it was like, boy, they just got like crazy expensive. So I didn't jump on those. So I stuck it with this one, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute, nobody's bidding on that one. So that's what I went with. And then, of course, obviously the other Diamondback would be the 4-inch barreled one. This one's definitely, it's got wear on it, which I didn't mind. It's still, but again, why did I get this? The movie Brannigan with John Wayne. This is what he has in it, so I had to roll with that one. Brannigan. So, and the other things we got a couple of the Pythons, as you guys know, the 2.5 stainless model that they got out. I stuck the larger grips on it because I wasn't happy with the grips that they come with. They're too thin, so I didn't like them. So I stuck the Deer Hollow grips on that one. Deer Hollow does make a copy of the service grips of this, so I may end up picking those up to see how they are. I want to actually probably call him again and talk to him, probably bothering him. I hope not. But I do want to ask him about that and see what, because I've never had service grips for a Python ever. Never even seen a set, a real set. So I don't know. And him being copying these things to the exact T like that. So it does make me kind of interested in wondering how that works out. So, and of course you know about the 6. But before we leave the show, I have to talk to you about a movie, right? I have to. We have to talk about a movie. And this goes back to the exploitation era of movies, which I think the exploitation cinema, those, movies are really cool, especially the soul cinema, as they call them. And what I'm talking about is Truck Turner with Isaac Hayes. Gosh, this movie is awesome. I mean, I'm a huge fan of those exploitation films. Pam Grier. I mean, Coffee. Coffee is downright outrageous. Coffee and what's the other one? Foxy Brown. Those are so insane. These are the coolest blow 'em up, shoot 'em up, outlandish action movies ever made. But Truck Turner, Isaac Hayes, this is cool. And talking about the python, I mean, this is literally, he's running around with a 6-inch blued python and just blowing the bad guys out of their socks. He's a bounty hunter in it. If you've never seen this, you gotta see this. He's a bounty hunter, and he's going after the hardest of the hard. And you know who else is in it? The guy from Live and Let Die, the bad guy. What's his name? I'm always misspelling or mispronouncing. Yofet Koto. That's his name. So anyway, what a great movie. And one of the memorable scenes in it for me is he's running down the thing, and there's a guy carrying one of those glass water jugs. And he goes up, the guy goes, "Call the cops." And the guy goes, "What? Why?" And he pulls that python out. The guy goes, "Ah!" and throws the jug in the air and runs away. So, great movie. Love those movies, but that's their movie for this week's show and everything. So anyway, hope you have a good weekend, and hopefully everybody enjoyed the show this time around. So and if we want a longer show, let me know. I'm not sure. I've been kind of toying with that. I've gone back and forth with that. I've been trying to keep them to a little bit of length, because I know some people that enjoy the show or watch or listen to the show. Sometimes are on a drive or something like that, or a long haul, and it helps pass the time. So if it does do that for you, I'm really grateful for that. Obviously, keep your eyes on the road, drive safe. But let me know. I do appreciate that, and I always appreciate the comments, because your comments make the show. And thanks for watching and listening.